off here.
There
Okay,
you
Dennis
go.
Young here, and this is Primitive Substance Series 4, and another very special guest, Bill Harkleroad, and American guitarist, played with Captain Beefheart, and then other projects he's worked on. And Bill, thank you for doing this.
No problem. It's
So,
working
if
out.
you could talk about your early, how you got into playing guitar and your early days of music.
Yeah, you actually asked me a question earlier in the week when
Okay.
we were setting this up, and you said, was there a song I had heard and all of that? No, I started with accordion and stuff. My mother played violin and
Oh,
piano,
okay.
and so when I was 6, you're gonna learn something. Okay.
I'm glad. Okay, there
Couple,
you go.
couple of mafia guys show up at the door selling accordion lessons, so it's like
Oh,
scared
that's
the
a
shit
hard
out of me.
instrument to play.
Well, at 6 years old, anything is.
That's
And
true.
so that got me into it. And then I did that for 6 months maybe or whatever. But I was always around music.
Okay.
So guitar started at 12
Oh,
for me. My sister had a baritone ukulele, and the
oh,
top 4 strings of those are tuned like a guitar. And
hmm.
so I'd sit there and play an A chord to a G chord like I was this cool kid. And it got me going. So I think my father got me a guitar at 13, and that's basically when I started to do electric guitar.
And uh, what bands were you influenced by back then? Was the rock and roll groups?
I'm older than that.
Oh, okay.
The Ventures.
50s rock and roll groups?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. I have the same birthday as Elvis Presley. So I grew
Oh, you
up
do?
dancing around Elvis Presley's music, right? So I bought Love Me Tender, I think, and they were 45s with EPs on them. So you get 4 songs for a quarter.
Right.
And so I danced around to that shit like a crazy kid. And I was like a mascot for my sister, who was quite a bit older than me. So they made me wear clothes, how you had to have your clothes
Oh, okay.
designed in the 50s. I didn't have cigarettes or a tattoo, but. Anyway, so that was that. But the groups that I was listening to, I guess it was hardly groups. I mean, when I first started taking lessons, I heard, just playing some chords. And then I started learning jazz standards, which
Mm,
I didn't care for really, but it was like, wow, these are hard chords and stuff.
right.
And that's 13, 14. And so it's all of whatever the pop music of that era was,
Right.
pre-Beatles. And that when the British invasion happened, that
Right.
changed it, right? So,
And
but
then,
one song that did stick out for me, I looked it up after you brought that up, was Fingertips by Stevie Wonder. And that's in
ah,
1963, so I was 14. And hearing that really set the stage for my connection to black music. And that's really
okay.
still where I take off. Even though I study classical stuff, the blues, soul, gospel, churchy, R&B fusion, whatever it's going to be, it
Okay.
has to have that rhythmic thing. So that's kind of I set sail at that age,
Well,
right?
out in
13, 14.
that's something out in you grew up in the West Coast, right? Did you grow up in California or Oregon?
LA.
Oh, LA.
I grew
Okay.
up, LAX was built when I was a kid. Then we moved
Hmm.
my dad was in aviation, and so 60 miles north of there, you start getting into the military grids, Edwards Air Force Base, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it was military. The streets were
Hmm.
A, B, C, D, 10, 20, east and west. It was a
Right,
grid.
right.
And then as soon as I got out of high school, I went over the hill and went back to LA again.
How
And
about
right after that, the Beefheart Band.
yeah, now yeah, how about did you go to the Whiskey A Go Go at all to see
Mm-hmm.
groups?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that must have been something to
Yeah,
see those
it
groups.
was. Yeah, I mean, I went to see blues artists at that time. Jimmy Reed, I think, was the main one I saw there. Is that I can remember. Memory is another issue. I was saying that was part 3, as memory
Oh,
issues
okay.
from the cancer treatment. So anyway, that's my excuse. Not my bad choices when I was younger. So yeah, I went to the whiskey and did that.
I
And
think the
then
Doors played there a lot, right? And they
yeah,
had a residency there, I think, at one time.
pretty much. And the Doors were connected to Beefheart. They lived in Laurel Canyon. They were in the same area just
Okay.
before I joined the band. So
Oh,
that
I see.
just because I joined in 68, and that I think that was a 66, 67 connection between the two bands because
Right.
they lived in the same area.
So how did you end up meeting Don to get into Beefheart?
Well, we all grew up, Frank and him grew up
Ah,
in Lancaster. I was in Palmdale, 8 miles away, and we
okay.
were local kids, but they were
Hmm.
8 years older, so I ran into those guys when Don started Beefheart, but I ran into Frank earlier than that. He was in groups called the Blackouts with future Mothers members, and I think Alex Snoffer, who was the guy that kind of started Beefheart.
Oh, okay.
So that was just local stuff, and then jam sessions. Being quite a bit younger, but being 16 and being pretty cocky and playing with the guys, thinking I can play what they can play.
Yeah.
And then
you
so
certainly did.
I got noticed in these jam sessions, And then there was this interaction, and then John French first, and then Jeff Cotton, people that I was playing with, and then Mark after me. We were all guys that played together, but one by one we replaced the old guys.
Got it.
So,
and how about, did you do a lot of, were you doing shows back then before?
Hardly anything. Hardly anything.
How about, okay.
No, that was the Trout Mask house, sitting there, unplugged from the world. It didn't start that way, but it got that way within months.
Yeah, I heard it was grueling sessions, right? You just nonstop, Don, Taxmaster, right? Just get the parts
right. That's the
right.
easiest thing you can say about him.
A Taxmaster, right?
Oh, no.
No?
Just a really messed up human being.
Yeah. Well,
schizophrenic.
Sometimes these geniuses are on the borderline of madness, it's
he's
unfortunate.
He's that guy. No, he was that guy, and there was great times and there was horrible times, and had I known that he was diagnosed, it would have been easier. But just as a footnote, I wouldn't have put up with it if I wasn't afraid of dying in Vietnam. So that's a huge thing.
I'm sure.
1967, 68,
yeah.
Everybody went.
Oh,
and you either came home in a box or you came home.
And you were there in Vietnam, right?
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't go. Okay.
No, hell no. I was going to do anything I could to not die in Vietnam or have to shoot somebody. Right. So moved to Canada. I'm in the Beefheart band, and actually quite a few people got out of that through, I won't name names, people that were involved with, we were cash cows for a record company. So we don't want to lose our money.
No.
You see what I mean? So I'll just leave it at that. There was over 100 people that I was aware of that got out of the service.
Oh, God. Well, I just want to show this amazing record. There it is. I mean, it is so different. If anybody has never heard it, it's just so unique. I mean, it takes you on this ride of madness, but it's very bluesy. It's got Don saying this crazy stuff, but it all worked.
Well, I think the strongest part of it is the lyrics.
Yep. And people still talk about it, play it. And what was it like working with Frank Zappa? Was he involved much with it?
Not really. I wouldn't say I worked with Frank. I was at his house. He was always nice, always nice. And the little bit of business was I was too busy. The fellow band members remember him in the studio differently, maybe than me or whatever. But just to mention, we're working actually on a project about that album. And it's a whole bunch of stuff we had Billy Bob Thornton involved, Matt Groening, Samuel Andreev, the French composer that interviewed all of us, and I can't remember his name right now. Sorry, he runs a website in England. So we're actually we did a bunch of Zoom meetings with the four of us getting together and talking about it, because it's taught at conservatories. It's recognized there, and so it's when people say, "Oh, it's a kind of avant-garde." Well, yeah, but I see it as closer to classical than jazz or blues. In the scope of it,
it's got very blues though. You hear a lot of blues
those are the
that.
elements, but from
tons of it.
Well, yeah, but it's like blues. Is it a blues album? No, it has blues elements.
Right, that's exactly right.
When you have the normal vegan dinner and you throw a big lamb chop on top of it, it's no longer vegan. But in the structure and the way it was organized, it was really different than that.
It is, yeah. I mean, and the rhythms on that are so unique. I mean, and you guys must have really were well rehearsed for the recording, right? How long did that take to do the actual recording of this record?
Well, there's two basic sessions of that. There was one at the house, and we recorded. I can't remember how many we recorded.
Right.
And memory's an issue for me at almost 76.
No.
I believe there was just two of them that ended up from the home recording. If you remember the Bush recording and the kids walked up on that. Actually, one of those two guys has a gold record. Played for, I can't remember his name, Kenny Loggins. Anyway, he was one of those 10-year-old kids that walked up. And he's been a student of mine various times.
Right.
Weird small world. But where was I going? I lost where I was going. So we recorded at the house, the field recording, and then Don got upset about that, thought we were being cheated, so we went into a studio, and we had one 6-hour session, and we recorded 18 of the tracks.
Wow.
First, maybe second takes a couple of times.
Hmm.
It was just straight through. Well, when you do 12-hour days for
Right,
9 months,
Man, that's grueling. And well, I figured it's also usually when you record the first take, sometimes always the most natural, and because then once you start doing multiple takes, it kind of loses the, I feel anyway, I've been in the studio, loses the energy of that initial.
yeah, but I think,
You guys were so
what are you
rehearsed.
trying to do? Yes, we were, but I think how you record things can be so many different ways, and especially we didn't know about what we can do now,
Right.
back then. So I think it's all valid. It's just, do you like it or not? And the elements of modern recording do take the feeling out for me, but I just think we just did it so much, so much.
So what did Frank just sit there and listen while it was going on?
He just started the button. It was Dick Kunk. I mean, Frank was there, and I heard that he had Moon sitting there and fell asleep, or all these stories. I was just looking at my hands.
Yeah, I'm sure you
Nobody
were.
else. I was just looking at my hands and just go.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I'm sure you had to, but I think you're lucky you had Frank to he put the record out. So I
mhm.
mean, it was so different at the time. I don't know if a record company besides somebody like a Frank Zappa would have put that out because it's
Oh,
so
I
unique.
agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. But if you were really searching, you might have found a label in Europe where
Right. Oh
avant-garde
yeah.
music is way
Right.
more respected and stuff. But no, Frank did. Frank and Don. And John Fritsch was involved in more of that because he was the oldest member of the young guys that were in
Right.
the four of us. So.
So you left the band. What happened? You had just didn't get along with Don anymore? Was it too
Well,
much to?
we didn't get
Oh,
along with Don
both.
the whole fucking
Oh.
time. Sorry. Sorry
That's a
about the
dumb
F-bomb.
question. That's funny.
No, but it's back and forth. We
Yeah.
quit, and again, memory is a little different. Art Tripp and I talked about it. We were interviewed together with Greg
Hmm.
Binion, and and we had a little different, but it was generally the same. We're in recording music that we're supposed to be getting pop like, you know
Right.
what I mean? And in the process, the tunes I thought were really weak. I didn't like them. But I thought, okay, I don't want to be the bad guy. So we're
Right.
doing this, and all of a sudden, guitar solos, guys, they're bringing guitar players in to do guitar solos. And I'm going, what the hell?
Hmm.
I can do this better than he can, and I'm in the band.
Right.
Because we were handcuffed on improvisation.
Hmm.
He totally handcuffed us. I think that was a side note. I think it was really a good idea at the beginning because we would have just played our corny blues notes.
Hmm.
And so having us not improvise and pull it out of its art sphere, you know,
Right.
so he didn't do that. So that just kind of kept going. But the music sucked. I'm not even getting to play the stuff that these guys are playing worse than I'm going to do.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going, what is this? And then we got
Yeah.
some tour with the owners of the band at the time, the
No boy.
DiMartino brothers. And so it was just crappy music, going nowhere. We're
Yeah.
going to tour, but people are going to boo us like crazy. You don't go to England or Europe first when
Well,
when you've taken the balls out of the band and turned it into a muffin. It's like, so what? I'm not going to get paid. So
right.
at least
No.
it should be artful music if I'm going to
Right.
suffer. Suffer for art, yeah. Suffer for crap, no way. And I just said, Art, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I got to find a life. This is stupid. I'm not
Yeah.
going to get paid. And now there's no reason to do it because the music sucks.
So did you leave
That's what
before
happened.
did you play it? So you didn't do the tour then, right? Did
No,
you go
no,
to
we
Europe?
all
Oh,
left.
that was it.
No, that was a whole hired band. And it was not done on purpose to hurt him, right? He deserved it, but it was not done like that. It
Okay.
was to save myself. Everybody else felt the same way. We all just were done.
Well, I think he burned you out so much, so much
He deserved it.
insanity
He
and
absolutely
whatever
deserved
else.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
But
much insanity.
But it wasn't to hurt him. It was just to get away. We knew that would happen, but when's a good time?
Right.
You know,
How do you feel now about the record after all this time? I mean,
I don't listen to any of it. What last one?
the Trout Mask, before we
Oh,
move on. I mean, after all this time, he's still.
oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the last album that
No,
went
no,
in your
no.
quick. Okay, okay.
What's your feeling of it now? After all this time, people are still listening to it, still saying, "Wow, what is this?"
Well, some people are saying that. Other people are saying, what an incredible piece of work."
It is.
You know.
I have to
So,
agree.
but what do I think? Well, like I said, us doing this project to turn this into a film version of Trout Mask, the thing, and the four of us
Talk
talking
about
about that.
that.
That's
Okay.
what that is. And so that's in my head. And I was the one that started it with the idea is like, we never got paid. And this is during Bitcoin. So I'm thinking,
man.
you know, but you get, I was going, and people around me were saying, you guys should cash in on this somehow. And I went,
Right,
okay.
right.
You know, and so started talking to everybody, and the other three guys went, okay, this is a good idea. So we did some Zoom meetings with these other people going through the process. And my idea of it was a little different than other people, but mine wasn't, I don't care about the tunes. It's what that thing is as an object by itself.
Right.
So I don't listen to it. I could give a shit. I just don't care. I don't care. I write a song 3 months later, if I've recorded it and it's gone, I don't know my own songs. I don't care. What's next? What's next? That's just how I operate. But to go back to it and revisit it over 50 years, it becomes a thing that I'm not even in. It just becomes a separate thing.
Right, right.
So
I
you just
understand.
start seeing it because I'm so distanced from it, sort of. And
Plus, you
anyway,
were young guys back then, and
I was 19. Yeah.
oh wow, yeah. So
So I think it's a thing, and I think it deserves to be recognized as a thing, whether you like it or not,
right,
because of the effort and because of the. It wasn't pieces; it was coherent within itself, really coherent within itself, because of the method of doing the music, and so I think it should be respected for that.
it should. But
You
I
know,
don't think
and
his other records were as good. I've listened to his other records to follow, but this was still his pinnacle.
I kind of like
Pinnacle.
decals better.
You like
But
that?
yeah, because I was the guy arranging the parts and doing all that
Oh,
shit.
okay.
So that changed from John French on Trout Mask to me on decals. And it got simpler with certain things, and I had a lot to do with moving parts around and changing things.
Oh, so you worked on that one, that record.
That was
Decal.
me, like John was on Trout Mask. Don was
Oh.
asleep in bed. He didn't do anything. He just banged on a piano and took a nap.
Oh boy. Oh
So,
man.
You know, but it
Well,
was,
it's part of music history, and you made a dent in it for sure. I mean,
yeah, I'm
people-
historic.
you are. I think.
I feel it, man. I feel it.
Oh man, that's funny. So, what was this band Mallard? What was that about? You were in a band called Mallard after that.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of music was that?
What kind of music?
Yeah, what was it?
Well, first of all, I don't play kinds of music. I have influences, but I'm a genre hater. That's a
Okay.
sales thing, right? Come and
Right.
get your Big Mac. You
Yes.
know? It's like a sales tool.
Right.
And it's like, for me as a teacher, it's like, oh, that's your genre. I mean, you're too lazy to learn the other stuff.
Right.
So you play to your preferences. So so what kind of music is
Yeah.
Mallard?
What was that? What was the
I
kind
don't
of
think
band
of it
was
that way. Let's
Okay.
just talk about it this way, okay?
Sure.
Kind of bulldozing you. Sorry.
Okay.
So it was. I'm done. I'm starting to study. Okay. Get into my theory. Start really studying. Because I knew that a bit of that stuff before the band, and then that just went away, and then came back. So that kind of happened, and then Mark was in touch with Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull,
Okay.
and they had talked, got me to go down to Hollywood because he was down there doing some recording. Ian took me out to dinner at some spiffy place where we
right.
were the only two people in there.
That's-
I go, this is different than it used to be.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he was saying it would be a smart idea for us to form something around that. So that a big kudos to Ian Anderson. The whole group they were sweet to us, man. They were really great people. And so that's what started it, Mark's impetus. And so it was going to be influenced, a bunch of bluesy things. We started writing tunes and just putting tunes together and just using the elements. It was way too country influenced for me. And so that's why I left after the second album. I'm studying, and everybody's lazy. I'm doing the business with our business manager, and other people are just waiting for a paycheck, I guess. And I'm doing all this work. Again, the music's getting not a place I want to go. So if I'm just scraping by, I better love the music. So I was done with it after 2 albums. Kind of music, I was listening to a lot of Weather Report, jazz things. And so those influences were in there with weird bluesness in there, you know. And there's even a tune in 9, you know, I listened to it maybe a year ago.
Okay.
For some reason, I can't remember. I don't listen to what I've done, you know. But it was odd time signature and stuff, but then there was this country stuff. There was humor, hopefully, you know, Bigfoot and different tunes like that. But it was just, I'm a musician, let's do this. We have an outlet, Ian Anderson, we're flying to England, we get to record. So, wow, this is nice, let's do this. But again, there was nothing there. We couldn't get paid. Got screwed by Virgin Records, you know, typical stuff. And I went, hell with this. And I moved to Oregon and practiced classic guitar in a dark room for 8 hours a day.
Wow. Holy smoke. Now, you did a record with John French, didn't you, in 2008, right?
I played guitar on his record.
You played on it, okay.
Yeah, I didn't do anything else.
How was that record to do? Was that fun to do?
It was interesting because it was just John and I sitting there, and he knew what he wanted, and I tried to give him what he wanted. I would do what I'd want, and then he'd go, no. And I go, oh, damn it. Okay, then I'll play what you want. So there's always different artistic things.
Right.
I'll say this. I don't want to be judgmental, but I'll say, of the 4 of us, I kept going in my direction, and they've stayed closer to the sound. Jeff's got albums out now. They're very different, so he's not doing that. Mark did some too. But John, as being the guy that really tied Trout Mask together and had all that, he's stayed with a feel that he does in his music that's similar to that.
Okay.
You know, or at least comes from some part of that. So that's just how John hears things and does. So
is he still doing making records, John French?
I don't know if he's making records. No, I just sent him down a microphone I had that I'm not using for his bass drum. But he's putting things together, and I don't know if they're teaching videos or what. I talk to him all the time. But, you know, it's about the project. When's this going to get done? You know?
That's something. So you did it.
Go ahead. What I was going to say is, it was really cool for the 4 of us after all this time, because we all grew up together, to be in the same room, or the virtual room, and seeing each other. It was like really cool to see these guys.
That must have been.
Yeah.
It brought back
years and years and years.
Good music, good memories, right? At least with them, anyway, right?
Well, good memories within us, and also the bad memories of what it really was.
Of course, yeah. Now, what about the book Lunar Notes? You did a book, right? Is that a book you did? Lunar Notes? Now, what? That was
hard
about
for me to take credit for it, but yeah.
Yeah. And that was about your time with Don and the tensions that happened, right? You wrote on.
Yeah, and I probably wrote about half of the level of the tensions in the book. So it's worse than what I put in the book. I tried to be nice to him. I didn't want to be. It was a weird time for me.
I'm sure.
Just lost my sister, my father, and my best friend. And
wow.
In this time period, and I shouldn't say best friend. I hate qualifying that, but person that was really, you know, all to cancer, and so it was like, okay, 1999. This is a good way to put this old Beefheart thing to rest, and I think I said that in the opening of the book, and it was just okay. But I didn't write it. I mean, I did and I didn't. It was Billy James sending me questions on a cassette deck.
Oh boy. A cassette deck, right?
Yeah, it showed up in a covered wagon and they dumped it off, right? And I was just answering questions, and it came back, and it was just like, man, when we were jamming, and I go, I don't talk like that. And then it was sent to the British publisher whilst we were jamming, and I'm going, okay, wait, this is getting worse. So I just grabbed the first third or so, or half maybe, and just wrote it from what they had done, and then put it in my language. So I did write that. I got tired of the whole thing at the end, and it just was going off. Well, what do you think about this song? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care.
Oh man.
No, I don't care about the music.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Right.
Because Bozo came out a year later.
Hmm.
Right. So I was working on my music. So I was just going, okay. They asked me, maybe I'll get 50 cents, and that's about what I got. But anyway, it was something to do. It was a way to go, okay, I'm done now. Moving on.
Now, is this book still available? Can you get this book physically?
I don't think you can. No,
okay.
Probably just eBay or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And now, now you're not in the music business anymore. You're just playing on your own, or do you record
What do you mean
it
music
all?
business?
Well, record with artists still, or do you?
No, what was the last thing I did? I was doing that, and again, this ends up coming into my cancer life, right? I was doing that and getting a few of those, just do a guitar solo for a few $100, right? Or
Right.
a bunch of stuff, $1,000. So I'm going, this is cool because I was teaching.
Yeah,
I've been
right.
teaching almost 50 years, so
Oh,
that
wow.
became who I am. And so in that period, I'm losing where I was going. Okay, I told you I'd do this.
Yeah.
Okay,
What?
writing the book and then doing my own. Am I in the music business? No, I mean, I think the last thing I recorded was, God, who was that? Todd Rundgren did a song of Whiskey Bar, the Doors remake song,
Right.
and they paid me like $500 to do a guitar piece on it, right? So they sent it up because this is just, internet, right? And it's funny, if you check the tune out, it's funny because the tune had that rhythm, 30s kind of thing. So I started playing almost country chicken stuff, which is not my favorite kind of playing, but it fit and it totally changed the dynamic of the tune. I hope they didn't hate it, but I thought it was kind of funny, but it was really changed the tune. So I think that's the last one I got paid for.
Well, that's like the story. I interviewed Phil Manzanera from Roxy Music. He said
Right.
the biggest paycheck, I think, Kiana West sampled a guitar riff from the beginning of a 70s record he did, K-Scope. He said that's the biggest payday I ever got. So
Yeah.
you never know. Maybe someday, while you're still alive, they'll say, "Hey, well, we want to use a part of your song."
Yeah.
You never know
Yeah.
how it
No, I
goes.
get that.
So I guess that's all I could have here. Anything else about currently? You said you're doing teaching, right? You're teaching. You've been teacher for a long time.
Yep.
Is it
Since I moved to Oregon, and that's what I said when I was done with Mallard everything. Okay, done
right?
with the Beefheart, done with everything.
Right.
And within the first week of moving to Coos Bay, Oregon, I met Howard Roberts, and I don't know if you know who he is, but him and Al Hendrickson were both in the Wrecking Crew. If you know who that is, you don't know who that
No,
is?
who was that?
The Wrecking Crew.
Oh,
the
yes.
band, the group that played
yeah,
all the Beach
of course.
Boys, played everybody's music.
Right.
Well,
No, I
Howard was
know
the
them,
guitar player,
Wrecking
and
Crew.
then Al Hendrickson, who
course.
has the title of the most recorded guitar player. So
Oh.
I'm with these guys, these legends, these brilliant people, and I'm just starting to study. So I got really lucky. I'm going off on a side trip.
That's okay. No problem.
But, so anyway, I started studying with those guys, and that's what kind of happened when I moved to Coos Bay. But there was a question or something. I lost it, sorry. Just telling you my history, where I went with that. And so I just kept studying.
Wrecking Crew or something. I think I saw
Yeah.
a show about them. Glenn Campbell was in that.
Yeah.
I think in that group. Yeah, they were incredible. And
Yeah,
they
well,
did.
they were studio musicians that could sit down. Here's the chart. You do
Yep.
the album today.
I know they
The
did a
real
lot
band would be fucking it up, and they don't have
That's right.
technology to do all that now, right?
No.
But that really was a change in my life, meeting guys that were really cool, respected me for my weirdness, and
That's
there
okay.
we go. And then I just went, okay, this is cool. And then with Al, spent a lot of time with Al, a really cool person. And so that just sent me, I'm going.
That's okay. So what do you think of the current music? I mean, do you listen to any of the current music out there, or
I don't listen to much music at all, really. I listen to some things, probably things that you won't like.
right?
But when I sit down to listen, it's usually classical now. I'm a huge Michael Brecker fan. He probably
Oh
affected me
yeah, I
as
know
much as
him very
anybody.
well.
Um, and big loss. But yeah, so because he has that same nasty influence, John Schofield. Bill Frisell is an acquaintance.
Right.
Met him through a friend, guitar builder and stuff. So I just doing that. But the teaching thing started. That's where I started back in
Okay.
'78. It was started teaching, and I didn't know anything. But then I started reading and really trying to learn how to teach, and that's when I started. And then when I moved where I am now, I was able to build up a backlog of students, and now it's just all online since COVID. I started doing that in like 2009.
Yeah. Well, everything's changed so fast. I think the attention span of people now, especially kids, is like 5 minutes or less than that. They go through Spotify. Okay, I like that. I don't think
Think about me trying to teach somebody in their 20s. They think they should be able to push a button to do this, and I go, no, sit in your chair, and 6 months from now, let's talk about how good you're progressing.
Right.
What? No, and I said, in 10 years, you'll be worth listening to. You know, it's I don't say it that brutal, I hope, but no, it's just, and yeah, people don't know things, they access things.
Right.
And so I'm a campfire guy, man. I learned blues licks and all of that, you know, from those guys. And that was another good part of the Beefheart band. In the first week I met Harry Parch and Muddy Waters.
Oh boy. See, a lot of kids don't know the history of music back in those days. I mean, they don't even know regular history in kids. I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying generally speaking. And then now with this AI development here, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next, but the stuff will never die. The 60s, 70s, 80s, that music will, and 50s too. That people will always go back to that. I feel.
I think a little differently than that.
Okay.
Yes, they will, but every period does that.
That's true.
We can be grumpy about how people are now, but that's what they are.
Yeah, that's true.
And
You're
you know, how stupid my parents were when I was 16. Are you kidding me? Like, that's going to change? I'm that stupid old granddad now. And I agree. There's too many cultures between me that have happened and a 20-year-old kid. So it's bad on me to expect them to appreciate the things that I do. It's not their currency, you know.
Right. My parents were listening to Oklahoma. That was the so you talk about, different generation, right?
No, I mean, I'm in the car and we're going out to go camping. We're listening to Doggy in the Window, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and whatever tunes. That's why I said listening to the radio with this little Telstar earplug thing and listening to it, and Fingertips came on, and it was so over the top. And he was 13, and he's a year younger than me. And so he was 13, and I'm 14, hearing this harmonica, just this jam with a group of jazz players behind him. You know, just wow.
Yeah. Now, before we go, do you have any memorable shows that you saw back in that day, the 60s?
That I saw?
Yes.
Wow. Harry Parch.
I know there's a lot, but...
Harry Parch. Do you know who he is?
Who?
Harry Parch.
Of course. Oh, yes.
Okay. Like, when I saw that, I'm sitting with Frank and Gail and Don and I watching Harry Parch, meeting him, seeing these...
He's amazing.
Walk up ladders to these things.
Yeah.
And this is my first few weeks, my first day I was there. I'm in a jam session with Mick Jagger and famous people in Frank's basement with a bowling alley in it. And I'm going, and a string quartet was playing when we came in. I'm going, wow, where have I landed?
Yeah.
It got worse right after that.
Yeah, he was quite unique, very unique indeed.
But those were shows I saw. Ian Anderson.
Oh, he was
Jethro
great.
Tull, because they was Thick as a Brick. And what was the one right? Aqualung and Thick as a Brick material, and they were really pushing the technical thing, and it was they were really good and tight. Thrilled by the music? No, but by how cohesive and how in front of all of that. So that was impressive because we toured with them, so I got to see them often.
Oh, that must have been great. I love those guys.
We opened for John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu.
Oh, you did?
Man. At the, what was it? What's the big one in San Francisco?
Intermounting Flame? That's one of them.
No, not the album. I'm talking about the facility that Bill Graham had.
Fillmore.
Okay, was it the
Fillmore West?
It was called something else, but anyway. And so I'm just standing on the side going, holy shit.
Yeah, that must have been
Don
incredible.
tells me, don't listen to this shit, it sucks. And I go,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
right.
wrong, dude. And this is
I
like
mean,
72, so I'd already had a separation
oh,
with Don at that point.
Billy Cobham was just incredible.
Yeah,
I
all of
mean,
them were.
all of
All
them.
of
You're
them were.
right. You're right. It
Actually, the
was,
violinist at the time, Jerry Goodman, lives here
yes.
in Eugene where I live. I
Oh, he
heard that. I
does.
haven't met him.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't met him. But those were shows there'd be a few more, I think.
Hendrix. Did you get to see Jimi Hendrix?
No, I met him, but I didn't ever get to see him.
And there was one other. How about Eric Clapton? Did you get to see him play?
I'm not a fan, so
I
sorry.
That's all right,
But
but I just spoke with a John Etheridge who actually played with him in 1965
oh,
at a actually a bar club, and he said he would just stand there, not move, and these incredible sound, no pedals, nothing, just
no.
right through his amp, incredible
Right.
stuff.
Well, everybody in '65 was, kind of doing that. Of that, if you're going to go to the British guitar players,
Right?
Jeff Beck, by not even
Oh
close.
yeah, of course
By not even close, because he kept going. Everybody else is playing the
he
same
did.
fucking
You're right.
pedestrian blues licks forever.
Yeah,
But when I meet these people, I didn't meet Clapton. When you're young, I'm very impressionable with how they are,
right.
and some of them were. Beck was gracious, and Jimmy Page wasn't.
Others,
So it doesn't mean they're not wonderful
right,
older gentlemen now. I'm just saying. So you were really impressionable, and
right,
these guys were like my guitar heroes, especially Beck and the Yardbirds.
right.
And so
Well, anyway, it's been nice of you to come on, Bill. Thank you for your
you're
time and
you're welcome.
the amazing record here again. I wanted to put it up because it's quite a legendary record, and you're a legendary player. So I want to thank you for doing this, and
You're
stay
welcome.
healthy. And maybe I'll see you again sometime. And thanks for your time.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, have a good night. See
Bye.
ya. Bye bye.